The film begins in the bustling Bogotá, Colombia, market. We see random people selling goods to make a living amid traffic jams all over. Armed guards are meticulously examining the employees' identifications and vehicles outside of Belco Industries. It surprises the COO Barry that he is also asked for identification. The armed guards send one of the employees who speaks a native language home. All employees enter the building after passing a stringent inspection and get ready for work. All of the rooms, including the restrooms, are constantly being watched by cameras without anyone noticing. Because Dani is a newcomer to Belco, she is receiving information about the new facilities, including the tracer that has been implanted on her head. She is informed that the tracer will safeguard her from kidnapping. We learn that Belco is a global business that employs American workers to work in South America. In another location, the office creep, even when Leandra notices him, Wendell continues to gaze intently at her beauty. Sooner or later, a geeky fellow named Mike moves toward her, and the two beginning making out. Leandra, on the other hand, abruptly stops talking and yells that she doesn't want to rush things because she just got divorced. Mike then approaches his coworker. Terry goes into his room and asks why so few people are here today. Terry also doesn't know why the locals didn't show up, but he assumes that the gate guard sent them home because they didn't show up. Mike, perplexed, returns to his room and suspiciously examines the hangar in front of his building. He calls Evan, the office security guard, to inquire about the odd circumstances, but even Evan is unaware of them. Out of nowhere, a baffling voice on the radio cautions everyone in the structure to quit working. It says that 80 people are inside the building, and if the task isn't done, most of them will die within 8 hours. The task is to get rid of any 2 employees within 30 minutes, or else there will be worse consequences. When they hear this, everyone starts to panic and start to cry out of fear. When they learn that the phones are dead and the cell networks are jammed, their concerns grow even more. Mike tells everyone to calmly leave the floor because he doesn't have any other choice. As they do so, reinforced metal plates seal every window and door from the outside. Now that the threat is real, everyone in the office starts to realize it. Mike calmly tells the maintenance workers, who are panicking, Bud and Lonnie, to use a blowtorch to melt the metal. However, the doors remain unaffected even after this. Some employees rush to the roof to see if they can get anyone outside the building to know. The COO is down the hall. Barry tries to calm his team down by saying that someone might be playing a joke on them, but Mike doesn't buy it because he thinks the situation could be serious. He believes that the armed guards, dead telephones, and guard movement on the old hangar are all components of a larger plot. A woman sees an armed guard inside the guard post on the roof. She quickly informs other employees and calls them to scream for assistance. The guard hears them and turns to face the roof, but he completely ignores them, acting as though nothing has happened. The stoner of the gathering, Marty tells everyone on the roof to remain calm because he believes that everything is a psychological test. However, an employee's head explodes right after he finishes speaking. Then, 3 different laborers die in a similar style down in the hall. As soon as the terrified staff realizes that someone is shooting at them, they all run for cover. Barry gets up and goes to look at the body after the explosions stop. He finds that the wound wasn't caused by a bullet and confirms it. Mike likewise goes along with him and affirms that it was the tracer which is introduced toward the rear of each and every global specialist's head. Mike quickly locks himself inside the toilet after realizing that they are in serious trouble and tries to remove the tracer with a knife. However, the intercom operator immediately interrupts him by threatening to blow his head off in 10 seconds if he continues. Hearing this, Mike hesitantly obliges. In the meantime, after going through the items that were hung on the wall, the staff members discover that there are cameras all over the building. Bud and Lonnie repair the air conditioner in the basement, where Dani is hiding. When the voice on the intercom returns, Bud is looking at the AC fans. It declares that the game is real and that the cameras and tags should not be destroyed. The voice also tells the workers to get rid of 30 of them within the next 2 hours, or else 60 more workers will have to die from head injuries. When they hear this, everyone gets scared. Wendell and a few of his co-workers take knives from the cafeteria when the voice stops, while others run to a quiet place to hide. Bud tries to calm Lonnie down in the basement, but to his surprise, Lonnie hits him in the head and kills him right away. After that, Dani emerges from her hiding place and Lonnie rushes to free her. Up in the hall, Barry, Wendell, and Terry are considering the option of killing him while every other person in the room rejects it. However, she fights back and manages to kill him instead by pushing him against a pillar. In this way, Leandra thinks of a substitute thought of draping flags from the roof. Leandra and Mike head to the elevator with paints, rope, and duct tapes to set them up. Mike, Leandra, and Evan meet Barry and his group while ascending the stairs, severing the armory's locks. Mike asks them to stop out of fear that they will be punished, but the bad guys keep torching the armory locks. Mike, enraged, grabs a gun, fires at the gas tank, and then he and his friends head for the roof. The stoner says in the following scene, Marty thinks his co-workers are having hallucinations as a result of him emptying every jar of drinking water in the building. Mike and a friend are attempting to erect a banner that reads, "We are being held hostage back at the rooftop." However, the group is forced to retreat when the armed guards on the ground begin firing at them. Mike tells Leandra that he thinks everything is a human experiment from down the stairs. They are being threatened with information extortion. Just at that moment, Barry arrives and strikes Mike in the head, rendering him unconscious. Evan declines Wendell's request for the armory keys after he points a knife at him. Instead, he tosses them away, prompting an enraged Wendell to stab him to death. Barry opens the armory and gives his group members a variety of pistols after retrieving the keys. After that, the armed group forces all of the co-workers to return to the lobby. Barry later divides everyone up into various groups to distinguish workers who can be fired. He typically selects the elderly and ill animals. However, there are still very few expandable individuals. Their time is running out, the deadline is only 20 minutes away. Barry decides to manually select the targets and begins shooting at their heads because he has no other options. Another of the targets is Mike. Everyone, including Mike, flees for cover as Danny abruptly disables the electric main switch just as Terry is about to fire at him. After that, a voice on the intercom announces that only 29 people have died and there are only 2 minutes left. In the remaining 120 seconds, one more person should be eliminated, otherwise, 30 more people will die. Leandra, on the other hand, escapes Terry's pursuit by hiding under a table. She uses her shoes to fool him before attacking him from behind, causing serious injuries. Leandra lets Terry go despite everything Terry has done as he kneels on the floor asking for mercy. The time is up soon, but the task is not finished because the workers are missing one body. As a result, 31 more people, including Terry, have their heads blown out by the voice. The last stage's simple rule is stated by the intercom voice. The person who survives the following hour with the greatest number of eliminations is allowed. Barry has eliminated the most opponents thus far, with 11, followed by Wendell, with 7. Barry enters the elevator and dials the 7th floor while Danny and her friend climb to the top to hide. Danny jumps off the elevator's top and onto a side beam to avoid being crushed by a metal railing just above the 7th floor. He suffers as a result of her friend's unfortunate inability to arrive on time. Barry is sucked back into the elevator as a result of this. Leandra comes across Marty and his friend Chet removing the unexploded bombs from the heads of the deceased in the cafeteria on the 1st floor. In order to get away, they intend to use the bombs to cut a hole in the metal shield. Later, Leandra calls Mike over the intercom, requesting that he come get her on the 1st floor, and she grabs the microphone. Barry breaks the handlebar on the elevator and eventually opens the lift door. Leandra, on the other hand, sees Wendell dragging and butchering a corpse as she tries to drink some water. Marty and Chet, terrified, join her, and the three of them attempt to overpower him. Sadly, the ferocious Wendell kills Chet and Marty despite being injured before going after Leandra. However, previously he can kill her too. She shrewdly pushes a table against him and afterward closes him with a hatchet. In the following scene, Mike and Leandra meet in the lobby and feel relieved. Barry uses the handlebar to get out of the lift at the same time that Denny hangs on to the other side of the elevator to leave the floor. A man is using generator fuel and some glass bottles to make a Molotov cocktail down in the basement. Mike keeps the bombs he took out of the dead people's heads in his pocket, which Leandra shows him. A man from the basement suddenly throws a Molotov cocktail at a woman, killing her. He also hurls it at Mike and Leandra, but narrowly misses. Barry arrives at that exact moment and kills the man with the Molotov. Leandra is also injured by him. Denny enters the elevator at the same time and descends to the ground floor. However, Barry kills her with a single shot as soon as the lift door opens, leaving only 3 people, Leandra, Barry, and Mike. Mike assures her that they will get out of the place safely as the couple talks briefly inside a closet. Leandra, however, does not respond to it, and she slowly dies from her injuries. Now all that is left are the 2 men. Following the blood trail, Barry eventually made it to the room, where Mike attacked Barry after he jumped out of the closet. As a result, an intense fight ensues, complete with numerous kicks and punches. But, in the end, our hero manages to kill the bad guy by repeatedly hitting him with a tape dispenser. The voice on the intercom congratulates Mike, who is now the only survivor among the 80 Belco Industries employees. Mike is held by 2 guards as soon as 2 guards enter the hallway as the metallic shields retract from the windows and doors. He is taken to the old hangar that is next to the building, where he meets the person who is talking on the intercom. Mike is then dragged to a chair and questioned, confused. The man explains that the game is a social science experiment with the intention of gathering data for future society modeling. Mike has already planted the tiny bombs on the guards, shocking everyone. He also rushes to the detonator switch at the right time, blows up the bombs with every worker's name except for his, and he takes the gun from one of the guards when they fall, shoots the remaining officers, and then fires several rounds at the main man until he runs out of ammunition. Mike exits the hangar, looks up at the sky with his eyes closed, and drops the gun in the final scene. The view slowly pans out to reveal a number of screens on which employees from other Belco businesses have escaped their respective experiments. Thanks for watching my videos. Please hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe to my channel.